Hey guys, and welcome back to Who's Your Hardware. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe down below. But today we have a top 5 list, and this is a really simple one. I started building gaming PCs for myself and then later on other people back in 2013, and I made some huge mistakes when I built my first gaming PC. I think I had like an FX 4300, 16 gigs of RAM, a GTX 660, 1 terabyte hard drive, one of those huge half cases from Cooler Master, the high airflow cases, and I think I spent probably $1,200 or $1,300 on a PC that I could have built for probably $600-ish. So, a lot of mistakes I made. Here are the 5 things that I wish I would have known going into that process. The first one is one that you're probably on the right track with if you're actually watching this video and you are a newcomer to building your own PC. Research is everywhere. Check out the research. Look for parts lists. Look for YouTube channels that cover hardware. Gamers Nexus and Hardware Unboxed are 2 fantastic channels out there that you can look at to find all kinds of hardware reviews and conclusions about different types of hardware. Use the resources available to you. I really didn't. I thought I knew what I was doing, and of course, I absolutely did not, especially in 2013. So that's number 5. Number 4, spend big on the items that you can carry forward. And what I mean by that is a gaming PC is built with several core components, depending on how you count them, about 7 core components. That would be the CPU, the RAM, the motherboard, the storage, the power supply, the graphics card, and the case itself. Of those things, the big ones you can, generally speaking, carry forward for a long time: power supply and case. Pick something you're very happy with and then carry it forward for years to come, instead of every time you go to upgrading your case because maybe you didn't get a case that was big enough, maybe you got a GPU now that is huge, or maybe your power supply was just underpowered when you first built your PC. Scrap all that. Spend big on the items that you can carry forward. Number 3, spend small on storage. And what I mean by that is identify how much storage you really need. Is it 1 terabyte? Is it 2 terabytes? Is it 10 terabytes? Figure out what storage you actually need right now. And then I recommend for first-time builders, buy commodity class hardware. You know, you can get a 1 terabyte NVMe drive for quite cheap right now. So do that, because storage prices over time go down. 1 terabyte is way cheaper today than it was when I first built my first PC. So when you need to upgrade storage down the road, you can always add storage to a desktop PC. Buy what you need now. Don't worry about getting the absolute fastest unless you have the budget for it and you're happy to throw extra money at storage. And for me, I feel like that would be basically unlimited money. Because if I have any kind of budget, I'm going to limit the storage and just buy a better GPU, better CPU. Number 2 on this list, get the motherboard you need. Not the motherboard that has all the bells and whistles that cost literally $150 more than a motherboard that would work just fine for you. One of the big mistakes I made with my first system is I bought a fantastic AM3 Plus motherboard for like $250. It was one of the Asus Sabertooth motherboards. I did not need an Asus Sabertooth motherboard for an FX 4300. Now, eventually I dropped in an FX 8350 in there, and I did overclock the snot out of that CPU. But I did not need that motherboard. Spend small on the motherboard. Find a motherboard, and Hardware Unboxed is one of the fantastic resources for figuring out if motherboards can handle higher-end CPUs. They have a lot of motherboard testing there, so I would direct you to them on YouTube. But find out a motherboard that has the I/O that you need and that won't melt down with the CPU you plan on using. And then buy one that's not overly expensive, because ultimately one of the sort of parts that gets upgraded the most, especially if you're on Intel though, when you go from a platform to a new platform, likely you're getting a new motherboard. So it's not a permanent fixture. Don't spend big on it. And the number one thing I really wish I understood when I built my first gaming PC, the CPU is overrated when it comes to gaming and real world performance. Now, I fully understand if you just want the best, go out and purchase the best CPU out there and pair it with the top GPU out there. But if you're really just looking to get good, stable frames and get high frame rates and get the highest frame rates you can, generally speaking, if you have any kind of budget that's not the top end of the budget scale, you're going to want to pair the best GPU that you can fit into your build with a budget-friendly CPU. Right now, I would recommend going with a current gen. If you're going with a current gen build, which I wouldn't even necessarily recommend, because you can get away with like an AM4 build instead of an AM5 build, and you could save yourself a couple $100 by getting third gen Zen instead of fourth gen Zen. But if you're getting the newest and latest and greatest architecture, get like a 6-core, 12-threaded part. Pair that with a better GPU instead of spending extra money on an 8-core CPU and getting a lesser GPU. You're probably going to see better frames from the 6-core paired with the better GPU, because especially with a current gen CPU, 6 cores is going to be plenty to run any game out there. Now, there are exceptions. And there are some games that really, whether it be optimization or they're just really tough to run on the CPU. There are games out there, and if there are games that you have questions about, obviously go back to number 5, do the research. But by and large, if you're trying to stay within a budget framework, get a lesser CPU in order to boost your GPU to a point. Get the best GPU you can. That's the thing that's going to most directly impact your frame rates. So those are my top 5 things that if I had known back when I built my first gaming PC, I totally would have spent like half the amount of money, had way better peripherals than I ended up with. I had a completely terrible keyboard and mouse, and I would have had just as good, if not better, gaming performance as a result. So that's my top 5 list. I do want to hear from all of you out there, especially those of you that are veteran builders. What's your top 5 list look like? Let us know in those comments down below. Let's build a list of items that new builders that are stumbling across this video might be able to benefit from. If you are a new builder, what questions do you have? If you like that video and you want to see more from the channel, like, share, and subscribe down below.